Okay, welcome to episode 9 of Adjacent Pod. Again, thank you to everybody that has subscribed, shared, rated, recommended, and commented. It's fun to see all the engagement across all of our platforms. We're wildly humbled about how far this is reaching across the world and people that are finding value in some of the things that we're talking about. Thank you to our main 2 sponsors, Treeline Veterinary Cancer Care, boutique cancer treatment for your dogs and cats in a small and intimate setting. Lalchandani Simon, a boutique healthcare and technology law firm, now focusing tremendously in the crypto space. It's been a fun ride. So thank you to everybody. Today is really exciting and actually is going to harken me back about 7 years, because 7 years ago, I came up with the idea of creating a panel at this national conference in DC. And and if you know me, I'm not the type that wants to create a panel and do all that comes with that. But I was so motivated by a topic that I said, we really need to do that. And the topic was lawyers doing cool things as entrepreneurs. We put together an amazing panel back then, and it got everybody in the conference to come. We actually had to change rooms because there really is a hunger for that. Why is there a hunger for that? It's this very fact. You know, lawyers are very knowledgeable in how to get things done because that's what they're hired to do for other companies, entities, individuals. So when they take on the task themselves, they become very efficient, very knowledgeable. They have all the context. They know how to push through all the red tape and get to a minimum viable product, build an enterprise, secure funding, and do everything else that needs to be done to build a life-changing company. And why am I talking about that? Because today we have exactly that with us on the pod. We have 2 individuals, incredible, exceptional, high pedigree lawyers in their own right, and now they're taking their skill set and applying it directly so that lawyers are driving the build for their projects and companies. So in 2 seconds, we're going to meet these guys, and their names are Daniel Payne, and you'll remember Sumeet Chugani. Shout out to Sumeet, because everything we post about Sumeet gets shared, liked, and messed with in so many different ways. We're trying to figure out what is the appeal of Sumeet other than the big brain. I think it's the beard, but we're going to bring him back on to hear about what he's doing now. So with that, welcome to the podcast, Daniel and Sumeet.
Hey, thanks, Cub.
Thanks for
Great to be
having
here
us.
again, man.
Really excited to be here.
Before we get going, where do we find you guys?
Well, I'm in Virginia today. I live in Richmond, and I work out of the house, but that also means I work everywhere because I'm all over the place, flying around to client meetings, conferences, checking out new things, and trying to keep up with Sumeet.
Daniel, as a first-time guest at the Adjacent Pod, give us like the 30-second background. Who are you? What are you doing? And you know, kind of what entertains you? What gets you motivated?
Yeah, the 30-second version is I'm a crypto attorney. I've been a crypto attorney since 2017. Before that, I was a traditional securities attorney working at a securities regulation and securities litigation boutique. Did that for many years, built a crypto practice. And in 22, I went in-house with some crypto startups that were clients of mine. Had an absolutely unbelievable ride over the last few years with those startups. Did some very, very interesting things. Landed last year at my current firm, Cole Freeman and Mallon out of the Bay Area. And on the side, I'm working on some interesting crypto projects, including with Sumeet. So really anything crypto has got me interested and excited these days. And of course, there's more going on today than ever. So it's hard to keep up with everything.
Awesome. And Sumeet, remind the listeners who you are and where do we find you?
Yeah, thanks, Kubs. Sumeet Chugani, cloaked now here in New York City, General Counsel, Chief Compliance Officer. Came over here 2 years ago, just a few days ago, it turned 2 years from Coinbase. I was head of retail trading on the legal side at Coinbase, built out their MPC wallet, built out their international exchange, Before that, a couple of different banks. Been in TradFi for about 6, 7 years in-house before that. Citizens Bank, Apple Bank, and then a litigator on behalf of banks, class action defense for about 8 years prior to. Down in Miami with you, Cubs.
That is awesome. All right, guys. Everybody's very curious when we got lawyers taking a new role as founders, entrepreneurs, guys who are pushing forward a project. Tell us what you're up to.
Yeah, I'll get us started, and Daniel, feel free to plug in any of your thoughts here. So a few years ago, Daniel and I, frankly, we've been talking about doing quite a few things together, and we did quite a few things together, mostly client-based. Whether it's Daniel's old client Gala Games or some of the things he did with Coinbase. And then we said, what are some different ways that we can work together to fill the gaps that are currently in crypto? Now, the world of joining the crypto world, currently Coinbase, Kraken, you can jump onto these different exchanges, but the normal world still hasn't jumped on. We saw a stat today that 7%, it's actually 6.8% of the world currently touches digital assets. And frankly, a majority of that is still in China. And it's only now less than 2% of what the world has that's currently in the US. So one of our thoughts is, outside of people saying, I need to jump into Coinbase and go through the friction, which is not that much friction, to actually get into this new world, whether they're thinking about it as a store of value or investments. Our thought is, how do we bring this to the masses in the different places that they're visiting on a regular basis? Then we birth Standard Blockchain. And what Standard Blockchain is actually doing is creating a widget for you to be able to buy bundled offerings of crypto on any site that you're going to. Why would any site say, we're going to have this type of function, this type of widget sitting on our site? Pretty simple. One, they're going to be able to get an upsell from a fee income, interest income standpoint. We're going to offer staking as well. But two, there's now going to be this new open banking environment that's being created. And today it's going to look like, and I can go through what open banking is going to be. It's currently in the EU and a couple of other places, but you as an individual are going to be able to have all of your banking and financial information on one dashboard. Now, today, we go to Bank of America for our mortgage. We go to Citi for our deposit account. We'll go somewhere else for our savings account. We'll go somewhere else for our CD. And you're logging in with 15 passwords. Tomorrow, because of a rule that actually hasn't got brought back or taken back by the Trump administration, because frankly, there's product market fit in the rest of the world, you will be able to, based on your own request as a customer, have all of your financial information in one place. Most people are thinking, okay, this is going to be our banking information. But if you see the new generations that are coming out, they're not leading how they first jump onto the internet or jump onto looking at their financial information by going to Bank of America. Frankly, they're going to Coinbase. They're going to sports betting book that they may have a bunch of their money in. They're going to all these different places of how they believe that their world centers around their money. So our goal is to put a widget, whether it's on X, whether it's on your sports betting site, or whether it is in your online banking of your bank, for you to have a very quick way to jump into the crypto environment, have your own allocation. For example, if you buy a couple of bundles, you can allocate it how you'd like to, 50% Bitcoin, 50% Ethereum, or you can choose your own bundle, or you could just buy stable coins. But now it's going to be one-click functionality, and then you'll see your dashboard and you have a whole new world that's coming at you, which we think is getting ahead of what the open banking world is going to be tomorrow.
Sumeet, that was a great explanation.
You want to add to that?
What was that, Cubs?
Do you want to add to that?
Yeah. I wanted to jump in. Sumeet, that was a great explanation. I thought it might be helpful to chime in with, Sumeet and I go back several years, And as he said, we've worked on some things together and are always looking for more things to work on together. As two crypto attorneys, we have a unique perspective when we attack problems like what Sumeet is talking about. I think we should keep in mind we still live in a post FTX world. I mean, that was an enormous event that is still shaping the course of the crypto industry because it happened so quickly. It happened with an institution that had unbelievable growth and assets. It was so enormous. I mean, we haven't seen that kind of implosion since Lehman Brothers, a half a generation ago. And we're still living with the repercussions of that because all of FTX's customers found out at the same time that their holdings on FTX they did not belong to them. And when FTX filed for bankruptcy, they had to get in line with all the other creditors. What an unbelievably unexpected experience, right? And so as attorneys, we look at a post FTX world, and Sumeet is exactly right. We're trying to figure out. It seems easy to us because we've been in crypto for a long time. It seems easy enough to us. Hey, get a Coinbase account, buy some Bitcoin. And Coinbase makes it easy. You can even take it off of Coinbase, put it into cold storage, put it into your own wallet. It seems easy to crypto native people. It is not easy. It is not natural for the many, many millions of people who are not in crypto now. And so we're trying to strip away all of the unnecessary stuff to give people a portal and an entry point. Because I think the understanding that I should have crypto in my portfolio, I think that comes way before somebody understands the ins and outs of how to add it to your portfolio. So we're just trying to make that space narrower of the space between those two things. And we attack it as attorneys. And we attack it as, hey, how do we make sure people own their crypto? How do we give them secure custody? How do we take care of the regulatory environment? And so part of standard blockchain is solving all of that. But it all comes back to a couple of attorneys trying to set up a new project.
Well, listen, we're gonna jump into the company certainly, but I want to drill down on the point you made, Daniel. I am fascinated by this because, the movement and the progress in the crypto world has been driven by attorneys. The ones who are changing the laws, getting together, putting out papers on how things should work. So I want you guys to comment on that. What is the value of you two being crypto attorneys to building out this project?
Sumeet, you want to take it?
Yeah, no, happy to. The reason that, which is frankly a really powerful army, the reason that Coinbase had so many attorneys, whether it was on the product side or whether it was on the policy and regulatory side, is because there wasn't law, and there continues not to be law that is very black and white in this space. What does that mean? There's a bunch of laws out there. We do have the FinCEN rules. We do have specific state by state requirements for money transmission that are going to always be at the hip of somebody that's in crypto. But we've seen what happened with the SEC and all the laws, all the cases now that have been dropped. So you start to say, okay, maybe these were not all securities, or maybe some of them still are. And that could be only for 3 years. And then who knows what happens 4 years from now. Sure. So alongside us building through this vortex of what's going to happen today versus what's going to happen in the future is, how do we make sure that as this new asset class is up and coming and this new type of currency is up and coming, that DC fully understands the benefits of this currency? Coinbase yesterday put out an ad that spoke about Bitcoin only having the specific amount forever. And then the back part of the commercial was the growing mound of cash that's printed on a regular basis. It's those simplified messages that get to DC that they ultimately understand. Why is this store of value different? Why is this currency very different? And now we're starting to see a tide get turned, especially with stable coins within banking, of now we're going to be able to ease the 2-day. I'm trying to send Daniel some money right now. The 2-day world of him seeing this actually come in versus me shooting it over to him via Coinbase. And at first we said, let's send it via Coinbase. I said, let's do wire. And now I'm probably going to switch back to sending USDC because we see that there's all this friction. And now we just had to, on the flip side of that, despite the ease of use, say, this is not only why it's beneficial, but this is why it complies with the law. And you can still feel very comfortable that it's not what Elizabeth Warren was saying for the last few years, not just a bunch of bad actors using it, but actually regular people that are trying to get in to this new technology.
Yeah, and I'll jump on that. I was saying before that I think a lot of retail investors, the next generation of retail investors who are going to add crypto to their portfolio, I think the biggest block for them is wrapping their heads around what is it? What is this technology? Understanding it. But for the business side, the traditional businesses that want to add in blockchain technology, add crypto, the registered investment advisors who should be explaining this to their clients, the banks who should be offering this to their clients and adding custody to their services. On the business side, I don't think it's understanding it. There are a lot of smart people there who can figure this stuff out. It's getting comfortable with the compliance, getting comfortable that they're legally sound, that their regulator isn't going to bust down the door and shut them down or take some dramatic action because they dipped their toe in the crypto space and didn't have all their ducks in a row. The first call they're going to make when they get serious about it is to some attorneys. That's absolutely, that'll be their first call. That's the approach that Sumeet and I take, is if we weren't building this thing to offer to businesses to integrate on their platforms, we would be the first call for the businesses on the other side saying, hey, we're thinking about integrating this crypto portal. How in the world do I get comfortable with this from a compliance perspective? And how do I get comfortable that my regulator is going to allow me to do this? That's the perspective that we bring. We build the product, we build the whole solution with that in mind. That's what you've got to solve for on the business side, is the comfort with the compliance. So we start with, we jump ahead to after the first call that they're going to make. That's where we already sit.
That is amazing. And, I will tell you, you guys as attorneys give lawyers a great reputation. You guys are thinking so outside the box. You're thinking so efficiently about what is the next thing that needs to happen in this world for people to truly access this. It truly feels like you're disrupting the whole crypto exchange network. And so with that, I kind of want to jump into standard blockchain. Tell me about that market. You guys are creating a product or a company that is going to have a place in the market. Is there demand for this?
Yeah, I'm happy to speak about that. So just a few stats, right? 7 in 10 retail investors have requested to get into the crypto marketplace, but RIAs do not have that ability. It's only like 3% now have started to put crypto into their portfolios. 71% of retail investors have or plan to seek crypto advice from their bank or their financial advisor. And then 57% of advisors had some or all of their clients investing in crypto on their own outside of the advisory relationship. One thing I want to hit on is whether any of these RIAs that are now not advising on crypto and not having crypto as part of their portfolio for their clients are actually serving, which is a regulatory requirement, serving their clients' best interest by not having this be part of what's going to be the future of this individual. We can think about the 401ks. Of course, there's been a up and down that's happened in the last even like 3 months. And we've seen that, of course, crypto go up and down as well, but overall do extremely well. But the thought is now there should be a place for digital assets in every RIA's portfolio when they're advising. Otherwise, they're not doing their clients justice on what's actually another asset class they should be diversifying their funds into.
Dale, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think those stats, I mean, that comes from our market research. And of course, we've got years of experience in the space that also informs what we think about this market. And I think between the market research and the experience, our strong belief in the market here is that if the traditional investment advisory apparatus that people usually rely on is not prepared to put people into crypto, and look, they don't have to put 50% of their assets into some crazy token. No, nobody's suggesting that. But a small allocation to Bitcoin or Bitcoin, Ether, and Ripple, something like that, there's a lot of agreement that is a good long-term strategy. Now, if the traditional investment advisors are not going to do that, people need a way to do that themselves. And they need an easy way to do that without having to figure out all the detailed complexities behind it. And that's the market we're looking for. People who feel like, yeah, I understand I need some of this in my portfolio. I can't count on my advisor to do it for me, so I've got to do it myself. I need an easy way to do it. I need the easy button. And oh, by the way, here's the thing that's really going to push people. Okay, if this is sitting in your bank account and you log into your bank account and you say, hey, I've got $10,000, $20,000 in a savings account earning what? 0.01%, whatever. Okay, it's nice and safe. You know, inflation is whatever, several percentage point. It's eating away the value of that. People understand that. If on the same screen, you're looking at some crypto assets that just by buying and holding them and having it automatically staked, you can earn 4%, 5%, 9%, 14%. People can do that math. They can do that math, and there's an opportunity cost to staying in dollars. I think people understand this stuff, and I think that's where the market is.
That's amazing. So now tell me, where are we? Where is Standard Blockchain right now, and where is it going?
Yeah, we're in stealth mode. I think right now we're finalizing the back end infra build. We have built out the front end. We had some designing play, which is actually the fun part, and now we got to finalize the stapling on the back end to both get cold storage in play, get the actual fundamentals of the broker dealer piece put into play, and we'll be ready to go. And then we'll start testing and try to get people on platform. And I think it's going to be where this is placed that's going to be the unlock for us. Our current prototype has everything from being placed on X to DraftKings to an online banking relationship. But I think it's going to be sky's the limit of whether this is on the Etsy's of the world or otherwise, where people may either have money that's getting stored there and want to place it in crypto, or the first time seeing the ability to actually jump into the digital asset world.
It seems like you guys are disrupting the entire crypto exchange world. Daniel, is that true?
It's certainly disruptive, but I think it's the natural progression here of the Web3 space, because Web3 is all about decentralized ownership, decentralized governance, and bringing applications to where people already are, and not relying on the big tech titans to intermediate everything. There's no reason why you should have to rely on some large company to intermediate all of your crypto purchasing and trading, just like, we're trying to do that in Web3 across the board, right? People want to have decentralized social media, decentralized gaming. Sumeet brought up Gala Games, which was one of the first crypto companies I ever worked on. The way they're disrupting the gaming, the traditional video game industry is, think about how much money is spent in game on things that you can use in that game and otherwise are not assets for you. Well, if you bring it to a Web3 paradigm like they do, when you purchase something in game, it's an NFT. You own it on the blockchain. You can resell it. You can use it in a different game. So it's not an in-game purchase that only lives in game. It's an NFT. It's a digital asset. This is what Web3 can unlock. So I think all of Web3 is disruptive to Web 2.0. And I think it's all a natural progression of meeting people where they already are in their digital lives, so they can do all the things they want to do. Sumeet was talking about open banking. Yeah, people should be able to see all their accounts all together. You shouldn't have 15 different logins. Let's make this easier for people. We've got the technology. Let's do it.
I have complete confidence that you guys are as smart as anyone out there, but tell me, what is the competitive landscape? Are the companies out there doing this? What makes your effort novel in this world of massive innovation in the crypto space?
Yeah, no, happy to answer that. And I think it's the simplicity of not only how easy it's going to be for you to determine what you want to purchase, put it into cold storage, which is usually a multifaceted approach for you to get that stored and safekeeping, but also it's going to be everywhere you want to be. Instead of you feeling like, now I'm going to get online and start purchasing crypto, so I have to create a Coinbase, Kraken, whatever account, and now I have to go there for one side of my life of Web3, but the rest of my existence I have to play on Web2. I always say that 100% of people that are on Web3 are still on Web2. You still got to buy toilet paper. You still have to pay for your phone bill on Verizon. You still have to do all of these things within the Web2 universe, despite you playing in the financial markets or other places on Web3. Let's bring Web3 now into Web2, and then we're going to start to see the transformation of these things combined. And I think that's going to happen in the next year and a half. I think we're just getting the party started, that your X account or your DraftKings account is now going to also hold pieces of your bank, pieces of your Web3 life, pieces of other pieces of your life. And everything's going to start to be, how do you want to look at things? And we're just getting started with, let's introduce you as only being the 7% of the world to an easy way to get into this future universe of Web3.
Yeah, I think on the competitive analysis here for our project, we have no illusions that somebody who's in the crypto space right now could do everything we're offering without us right now. What does not exist is bringing these disparate things together and bringing them to where people are, so they don't have to go find them and they don't have to go figure them out and do it the hard way. So, yeah, is there a competitor doing exactly this? No, there's not. And how do I know that? Because when you log into your bank account, you don't see a widget to buy crypto. That doesn't exist yet. Now, can you go buy crypto somewhere? Of course. We're not early to the game on an exchange or a DeFi platform or a decentralized exchange. But they, as Sumeet said, they exist where they exist. You've got to figure out how to go integrate into them and leave your Web 2 world and figure out the Web 3 world. So we're trying to solve for that and make that easier. And probably the biggest barrier, the biggest moat around what we're building are these relationships with our customers. Having a bank getting comfortable integrating this widget into their platform. That's a tall order. The first person to crack that will have a great market with that bank's clients and the next bank's clients. But cracking that, right, because the bank's got to be comfortable with what you're bringing into their platform, which is highly regulated and needs to be highly safe for their customers. So being able to crack those relationships is a real key to beating the competition.
That's amazing. One of the things we like to do here on the podcast is we've made it one of our directives to make crypto and owning digital assets more approachable to the average person who doesn't have any experience with this. So I want to put some color on what your product is doing. Let's say I don't know anything about crypto. Okay, I have a bank account. I might have a wealth manager. I'm a lawyer. I'm going to go on to say my bank account. I'm going to see this widget. What am I going to do? Am I going to choose my own digital currencies? Is a wealth manager going to tell me, make advice to me, just like he does stocks or funds or anything of that nature? How is it going to work mechanically?
Yeah, no, happy to answer that. So, we've built this so an RIA could use this for their own client base if they would like. However, the ease of use here, and we do require the customer, if they're going on our widget, they can do their own customized allocation because we don't want to be a registered investment advisor. We don't want to tell you this is what you should be buying. When you jump onto our widget, which could, again, we'll put together a video here that's going to be part of the montage, but everything from social media to your betting sites, you will see the different bundles that are currently offered. Everything from the top two to DeFi to we also have things like trending on X. What is currently out there that is starting to get hot on X that you can automatically jump into, allocate based on how much you want to put in, everything from $5 to $1,000 or more. And then you'll be able to purchase it, log in. And if you're in banking, we're going to do one-click ability with KYC based on that banking environment's KYC. If you're in the betting platform, it's all KYC very quickly for you to go through. And then you will have a dashboard that's set up for you based on everything you've bought. And it'll look very similar to simplified version of what you do when you log into Coinbase. You will see all of your different assets, how your portfolio looks, and the different bundles you've purchased.
The way you just spoke and described the product, I can see the value of two attorneys building this because you've thought out every single piece of the whole portal. I can hear it in everything that you say. Daniel, how important is that given the product and where it's going? How important is it that you guys have already thought through everything that needs to happen from a regulatory standpoint?
Well, it's very important because crypto, of course, has been facing regulatory headwinds since day one. And not only that, I mean, what other industry from the beginning had this aura of criminality where people said, yeah, cool new industry, crypto, only criminals use it. Why would anybody need to use crypto unless it was for fraud? I mean, the fact that we've overcome that and you've got Bitcoin at $100,000 when that is the mindset of kind of mom and pop on the street, it's a totally different space that we're coming from than the last tech, the internet, well, the people had to overcome why do I need the internet? What good is email? I can type it on my typewriter. And eventually it proved out, but nobody was saying the internet is only for criminals. I mean, that was not an obstacle that Amazon had to jump over to convince people to buy stuff on the internet. But we've got, crypto people, crypto business builders have to convince people this is legitimate. This is not breaking the law to buy this stuff. And that's why it's so important to have attorneys who are getting the ducks in a row, getting the compliance infrastructure in place, making sure all the licenses are taken care of. Sumeet was saying we're not planning on being licensed. That's exactly right. That doesn't mean we're not going to have partners with licenses who are regulated, because all of this has to be done the exact right way. And unfortunately, there have been players in the crypto space who are criminals and have done things the wrong way. Of course, everybody uses that to say, aha, the whole industry is rife with criminality. Of course, that is just not the case. In fact, I spent a lot of time on this. Law enforcement loves crypto. Some senators like to say, oh, the anonymity in the crypto space is allowing people to commit crimes with impunity. Absolutely not. Criminals are getting caught because they did their crimes on the blockchain. And oh, by the way, the recoveries are much higher in the crypto space than in, cash that just disappeared. Where did it come from? Where did it go? If you're talking about cash. So anyway, I can make a compelling argument that the crypto space is safer than TradFi, but people still need to trust that. And it's very helpful to have attorneys involved who can put a compliance infrastructure in place so that people can trust what they're getting into.
No, that sounds so compelling. Well, listen, Daniel, you may not be familiar with this, but I know Sumeet is. At the end of our kind of show, we do some targeted questions, lightning round, because a lot of our listeners want to get to know you. And I will tell you, there is an investment world out there that really wants to get to know you too. So I've prepared some short answer questions for you guys. If we can do it one by one, just whoever wants to go first, just a couple questions to understand who you guys are and how this all came to be. So the first question I have for you is, what made you guys want to not be lawyers and move into the entrepreneur world?
Yeah, that's a tough one, but I will give it a go. I have gotten frustrated on the legal side, seeing projects that I believe in. I believe in my clients, and they weren't successful. And you have enough of those where you tell yourself, I think I could do this, that you want to get up into the batter's box and take a swing. I think that's where it comes from for me.
To me?
Yeah, I think that especially in this space, and there's new spaces that are coming out, whether it's AI or privacy or otherwise, it is in the crevices of the gray that products are built. New technology is built. What we've seen, both Daniel and I being in the crypto space, is there's brand new products and services that are being offered that are only unlocked by a lawyer's ability to determine where the gray is. And once you find that gray and you're able to unlock it, and you can do it without fear because you have colorable defenses in your back pocket ready to go, you start to see everybody starts to understand the product offering. They start to see the product market fit of what you're building. Users really like it. And then regulators, banks, and the rest of the world start jumping on.
That's awesome. So my next question is kind of piggyback on that. You guys are used to salaries, the billable hour, flat fees, money in your bank account, or maybe in your widget. Are you ready for this roller coaster of being an entrepreneur, a tech entrepreneur, with no money coming in initially, and you guys out begging for cash whenever you need it?
Cubs, I thought of this at the beginning of the show. What a great question. I thought about when you were describing and introducing this concept of lawyers building businesses and why do they do it differently? And you just put your finger on it, because when Sumeet and I are working on this project, in the back of our mind, the meter is always running. Even if there's no client who's going to pay the bill, everything is in terms of the billable hour. We don't have a minute to waste. So our efficiency is sky high because essentially we're paying our billable rate when we're working on this project. So we have no illusions. We've been around the startup space long enough to know what it takes in terms of sacrifice and long-term vision. So we've no illusions based on our experience, but we're also hyper efficient in not spinning our wheels and wasting time on this thing. We're ready to get to market as fast as possible.
I tell you, Daniel, you should be a football coach. I'm already hyped up just listening to that talk. Sumeet, what do you think? Are you ready for the roller coaster?
Yeah, no, been ready, man. I think that we continue to be builders in this space. We've always been builders in this space. And I think no one works as fast as we want to work, even as attorneys. And I think it's game time for Daniel and I to just put the monkey on our back, take something to the finish line here, something that we actually very much believe in, which aligns with what the rest of the world is already starting to do, find new methods of economic freedom, find new methods for financial services. And now we're just about to bring that to the masses just in time that the US is about to unlock open banking. All feels right, and we're ready to go.
All right, guys, last question. And this is the one that, I think is probably the most important for the two of you. When you found a company, you are getting married to your co-founder. You've seen something in your co-founder that says, I'm ready to go into war with this person, and all that comes, I'm ready to take with this guy standing by my side. So each of you, tell me what it is about your co-founder that makes you believe in him and his contribution to the project.
That's easy. And it's one word for Sumeet, and that word is beard. Because his beard tells you the kind of guy who can pull off that beard is a guy you want to be in the foxhole with. But that is a joke. In all seriousness, I've known Sumeet way back before we ever decided to do any kind of work together. So I've had experience seeing him work, operate, and get things done. And I know if I want to get things done, I need somebody like Sumeet. Sumeet is somebody who opens doors, finds new opportunities, plugs people in together. He's got an amazing network, and he knows how to leverage it. So if I want to get some done, Sumeet's the first person I call.
Sumeet?
No, appreciate that, Daniel. So when I first met Daniel, it was potentially to jump with him into a law firm. And we said, we are about to dominate the new banking world that's going to ingest all of blockchain and ingest all of crypto. I ended up getting Coinbase just a few weeks later, so we didn't get in the trench together. I've been yearning to do ever since. But what I've seen since that time is Daniel's not scared. He was overseas for some time over in Switzerland. He keeps building while he's over there for the community that he has over here. He throws these monthly parties for all of the crypto folks that we've all met over time. It's that type of building, notwithstanding you not being right there, notwithstanding the fact that your community may be across the ocean, that tells me it's game time for us to get in the trench together. Also, extremely great, honest character that I'm ready to work together and be in the trench with someone like that.
Well, guys, this has been awesome. I will tell you, I feel very special about being one of the first people to hear about this project. I have full faith this is going to go wild. I think you guys are going to really make a dent in the crypto world. I appreciate you coming on here to talk about it. And as Sumeet knows, I do a final segment where I kind of try to pull together, what I've taken from this particular podcast and how it fits into the puzzle that is our season 1. This is episode 9. And thus far, we've had Justin Wales on, we've had George Morris on, we've had Vivek Jairam on, all crypto lawyers doing cool, unique things in the space. At the same time, we've had Andrew Barnard on and Brian Hernandez and Dan Carr on, And those guys are all entrepreneurs building something in the space. And you guys are the perfect next step for us because you guys are the lawyers who know the world regulatorily who are now building a project. And so there is some kind of amazing moment we're having where we've come full circle in this podcast. I really appreciate you guys coming on. Thank you again to our sponsors, Treeline Veterinary Cancer Care and Lalchandani Simon. Thanks for all the shares and all the listeners. I love all the feedback. I respond to every email and text I get because I love what we're talking about and where we're going. And, we're wrapping up in 2 weeks with Justin Wales, who's got some awesome news coming to round out our season 1. But we're already talking about season 2 and everything we're going to do. And so call us Adjacent Pod 2.0 coming soon. We're going to get these guys back. And honestly, I don't know if I'm going to fit into their schedule anymore, given where they're going. So I appreciate you coming now and giving me some time. And I wish you the best in this project. And if I can ever be of any service, I can't wait to get involved. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Cubs. Appreciate the comment.
It was great.